Hello, my name is Rich Wiggum. I am the CEO of a company called Slave Lake Zinc. What we have is a very exciting zinc-led project in the Northwest Territories. We're doing a financing at 10 cents with a half warrant that will be exercisable at 30 cents for a maximum of $600,000. It's a small one to start with because we feel that we can and will generate enough success from this property that the warrant will not only get exercised but will help fund the next phase of the project to levels that will be much more advantageous for further financing. To briefly explain what the project is and why we're very excited about it and why we wanted to be involved in it, is that back in the 1950s, post-war, a group of prospectors discovered a zinc showing at surface on O'Connor Lake. O'Connor Lake is about 75 kilometers east of Fort Resolution, which is about another 50 kilometers or so east of Pine Point. The O'Connor discovery was of enough merit that the original prospecting group put in not only their own money, but their own time to drill about 4,000 meters and to establish a resource of about 67,000 tons. Off of the surface material that they originally discovered, they were able to hand cob and ship about 26 tons. That material ran 55% lead, 13.5% zinc, copper, and some silver. That material was shipped to Trail. It helped fund the original infrastructure, if you will, to go forward with the O'Connor project. Using their own money, the consortium, if you will, put in shafting, drifting, and a head shrink, which at the time and in the location would have been, in today's dollars, just, really very, very, very expensive. I don't want to try and make a direct comparison, but it would be in the low millions, I'm sure. That sort of commitment to that location very much excites me. In fact, just talking about it excites me because, those fellows, using their own money at that time, weren't going to go and advance a project that they were pretty comfortable that they were going to get a heck of a return from, or be able to take it and sell it to a much larger entity. Mining was a little bit different back then. Nowadays, what we'd like to do is to advance it and sell it to a larger entity before we get to the mining stage. At any rate, when they got to the point where it was ready to be mined, the price of zinc collapsed, consequently the price of lead as well, and went from about 80 cents a pound down to the mid-teens. At the same time, the same group was involved in the uranium prospects north of Yellowknife. And so they shifted their emphasis to north of Yellowknife, to their uranium prospects, and then walked away literally from our zinc project. Between 1952 and now, there has been no work done on this project. There's been no modern anything done until we did a modern geophysical survey after doing some ground geophysics last year, but currently did a modern geophysical survey. Very excited about it. It's highly prospective, and this is the reason why we want to take this and hopefully have our application for listing succeed. The area that we're involved in has just everything going for it. When we talk about doing work in the north or in the Northwest Territories specifically, everybody thinks we're great distances from everything. Well, where we are, we're not. We're within a short distance of the power lines that are from the Tolston, hydroelectric plant. So we are effectively on power. That's the same power plant that the territorial government had proposed running power up as far as the Caddy. They have excess power. They have lots that they would like to sell, and currently they have no one to sell it to. We are also, as I mentioned, east of Pine Point. Pine Point has a rail line, has infrastructure, and actually has the ability, with what they have left from their mining days to be able to facilitate the startup of a larger operation where we are. I won't go in through all of the specifics on that, but they would be very happy to see our advancement. Our land holdings, actually, the Sullivan mine and all of its works would have fit quite easily into our land position. Now, the Sullivan was the largest base producing mine in BC, and people are still out in that area trying to look for new prospects there. With the potential infrastructure and with our relationship, we are quite excited about our prospects going forward. And so what we did last year is we, after engaging with the Native communities, were able to get ourselves a Type A land permit. And if anybody out there is familiar with how that works in the Northwest Territories, that's quite a feather in our caps to be able to do that. And what that means for us is that once we have the raise completed, we will be able to start drilling immediately, upon notice, of course, to the proper regulatory authorities. But our land use permit is good for another 4 years with an extension of potentially 2 more. And we are able to do, as I say, everything up to the point of post-exploration with that permit. Most companies generally get that permit well after they have done much more work than we have, in a sense. And so we're quite excited that we're able to advance for our shareholders and for the project itself substantially this year with hopefully a drilling program after March 31st. And where we are very fortunate is one of the founders, of course, who participated in acquiring the property back in 2006. He is a highly qualified geologist. The experience of Jazz and myself in the financial community, with the experience of Mr. McDonald, Mr. Braden, and Aurora Geophysics, who have helped support us to this point, we have a very dynamic project going forward with a very dynamic team. I could go into the geology of the area, but what I will say is that what we have is a surface situation, which is very exciting because, as you know, I'm sure, if you follow the zinc space at all, that almost no one has from surface down. Very good grades, 7 to 12% zinc and 3 to 8% lead, depending on the type of the assay. It is a low temperature hydrothermal environment, which suggests that we have a huge potential for expansion. We are open in all directions from any of the previous work. And as I say, the deepest anything had ever been drilled was only 250 meters. So we are really, really excited about the geology that we have in the area. We'd be happy to go into that further and give greater explanations if one is interested. To summarize, under an offering memorandum, we are raising $600,000 to make application for listing on the CSE. The outstanding as we speak is 26.5 million shares. So post raise, we will have 32.5 million shares outstanding. The raise is being done at 10 cents with a half warrant. The half warrant is exercisable at 30, and we think that we will be able to accomplish those goals. And as I had mentioned before, we're confident that we really won't have to return to the market to raise further funds until we have a much better level and a much more attractive pricing level to do a further raise. Anyway, my name is Rich Wiggum, CEO of Slave Lake Zinc, and thank you for your time.